So a few months ago, I got a message. Thank you for taking the time to reach out and share your feedback with us. Blah, blah, blah. Unforeseen events. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry for the inconvenience. Nice try, United Airlines. The thing is, I did not share feedback with United Airlines. I sent them a request for a compensation due to my passenger rights because I was recently on a flight that was more than 4 hours late. But after that blah blah email from them, I did not give up, and guess what? A few months later, I had my 600 euros. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how I did it, and the good news for many of you is that you don't need to be a European to be granted European passenger rights, and I will talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And the funny thing is that a friend of mine was on the exact same flight as I was. She had just one more connecting flight before she met up with me in Munich, so she was officially traveling with Lufthansa and not under the United Airlines flag as I was. And honestly, they tried the same with her. And then I just showed her how I did it, and she also got 600 euros back. And the good news is that you can do this up to 6 years after your flight. So let's talk a little bit about the European Union passenger rights. So there are several cases where they come into play, usually when you are denied boarding, or when you're downgraded, or when your flight is cancelled, or when you had, like I had, a long delay on a flight, which is usually more than 3 hours. And the good news is that it does not really matter where you are from, or how expensive your ticket was, or what kind of trip you were on. To qualify for compensation, basically your flight needs to meet a few conditions. And when you're on a flight that was operated by a European airline, does not matter if you flew within Europe or from Europe to a non-European country or back home, then you're always entitled for the European passenger rights. And also most of the flights with non-European airlines are covered. Basically, you're always covered when you fly within Europe with a non-European airline, or when you're flying from Europe to a non-European country. The only time that European Union regulation does not really apply is if you would fly with a non-European airline from a non-European country into the European Union. And with the European Union regulation, you are entitled to get some cash back, and it does not matter how expensive your flight was or anything. The only thing that matters is how long the distance of the flight was. There's usually a difference between shorter flights up to 1,500 kilometers, you get 250 euros back. When you're on a medium distance flight, that's usually between 1,500 and 3,000 kilometers, you get 400 euros back. And when you're on a long distance flight, which is longer than 3,500 kilometers, you get 600 euros compensation. And this is as long as there is no exceptional circumstances, for example, political issues or strikes or bad weather. But honestly, in cases like this, the airline has to prove that it was really caused by the bad weather and not just their bad preparation for the bad weather, if you know what I mean. A good indicator, according to the internet, is when all the other airlines were just flying as normal and your airline was not, then it's usually a sign that just they were not prepared. And even if your flight is delayed due to technical difficulties, then you are still entitled to a compensation, because these problems arise more or less in the context of an airline's normal activity, and the airline should be prepared for them. So what happened in my case, I had a long delay on my flight to the US in September. I was flying from Munich to Chicago, and there I was changing planes, and our plane already arrived late in Chicago, and we were really standing in line forever at immigration. So we missed our flight, and they rebooked us on a flight for a few hours later, which meant that we arrived more than 4 hours later at our final destination. So one thing I did was to collect proof on this trip. So I really took screenshots of the new boarding passes. I took photos of the displays on the gate and all those things, just so I have something in my hand to really prove that we were really delayed. And once I returned back home, I very naively just took all my proof and sent a nice email to United saying, hey, I was delayed, I think I'm entitled to a compensation. Here's all the proof. Let me know what's happening. And basically the next day I got this thank you for my feedback email back, and where it's just full of blah blah. At that moment I was a little bit pissed off, honestly, and then I just Googled a little bit if there's a more formal way how I have to do that or how I can do that. So after some research, I found out that there is this official European 261 form that you can use in cases like this. So I just went ahead and I filled out the PDF. And by the way, I put a link to that form in the description. So if you ever need it, you find it too. And after I filled it out, I just added all my proof again and I sent it to United Airlines via email again. United Airlines, as per the European regulation, has 6 weeks time to reply. And if they would not reply in that time, I would need to go ahead and contact my European Consumer Center. And I will also link that down below. And when it got close to 6 weeks and I got ready to really escalate this thing to the European Union, I suddenly got an email from United where they basically just offered me a choice between a 1,000 euro flight certificate, or if I insist on my European Union 261 passenger rights, 600 euros back in cash. And if I would do that, I just need to send them my bank details, which I did. I took the money. Afterwards, I just received another email that it now can take up to 12 weeks to get the money. And finally, in December, almost 2 months later, I got the money in my bank account. So at the end, that was not too difficult. But one thing I really learned is that they really try to wiggle out of their need to compensate you when you don't go the proper way. Both my friend and I, we both very naively just sent an email to the customer service with all the proof, but not really referring back to this European Union guideline. And both of us basically were dismissed with this blah blah, thanks for your feedback email. So in the future, if I get in the same situation that I would be entitled to compensation, I will just go ahead and immediately send them this form. And in my opinion, you don't really need to use any of those companies in the internet that offer to help you getting your money back, because I'm quite certain that they do exactly the same thing as I did here. And it basically just takes you a few minutes to do it. I mean, obviously you have to wait a long time to get any reply, but it worked. So let me know if you have any experience with getting compensation from airlines after delayed flights or anything. So I have now 600 euros more I can spend on my next trip, and I'm very happy about that. If you want to make this girl here a little bit more happy, then consider subscribing to my channel or liking this video. And other than that, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!